Can you hear me? Okay, excellent. Yeah, there we go. Now we can hear clicks. Excellent. I'm Helix Fairweather, and this is Joan Orr, and this is the beginning shaping session. Shaping for Success, I think we're calling it. And so I want to ask, well, first of all, I want to say I so appreciate everybody coming to Portland for Clicker Expo. It's been a long time dream for me to have it in my home state. And I recently, last summer, had the experience of going to Shed for a week, Shed Aquarium, training with Ken Ramirez. He does a one-week-long professional trainers program. And when we got there, Ken was so excited because he said, I just have been so waiting for you people to see me on my home turf, to see me with my animals. And I kind of had that same feeling, having all these people from my hometown, home state, here to see Clicker Expo. So I'm really glad you're all here. We're going to get started, and Joan goes.
So we're in the shape. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, wait, I wanted to ask, how many are beginner shapers? Oh, good. Okay, cool.
Good.
Okay.
Well, you're in the right place. Because as far as we're concerned, shaping is the heart and soul of clicker training, and it's really something that's incredibly important, and we're glad you're here to share it with us. So today we're going to talk about what is shaping, why we use shaping, that the rules always work, which Karen has stressed earlier, and you probably will hear that in pretty much every presentation you go to, how to set up for success, human skills that we need for shaping, animal skills that are needed for shaping, and then we're just going to have some fun with shaping. So what is shaping? Well, it's building behavior incrementally, one tiny little piece at a time. And one of the biggest mistakes that beginners make, and we still make them ourselves, is trying to go too far in one step. You can never go wrong by taking tiny, tiny little steps when you're building up your behavior. Shaping is moving in the direction of the goal, so incrementally towards your goal. So say you want the puppy or the dog to go over there and touch a ball with its nose or go to a mat. We're not going to have the whole behavior at once. We might have looking at the mat and then looking at it with more intention and maybe leaning a little bit and then taking one step and two steps. We're never going to ask for 3 or 4 steps at once or going all the way to the mat until we've built each individual step that comes previously.
Shaping is like having a video clip of the final behavior and running it one frame at a time. So each frame is the criteria you're shaping for along the way to getting that final behavior. And it's difficult for us humans to think in terms of one frame at a time because we want to go right to the end, right to the end of the story. So we're going to hopefully guide you through some live demonstrations and some video demonstrations of what it looks like to shape baby steps.
And one of the key skills and important skills with clicker training and any kind of training is being a good observer and knowing how to look for one thing at a time. Your dog is always going to be offering multiple behaviors because they are. And your goal and your job is to look for the one thing that you're looking for and trying to ignore those extraneous behaviors. And if extraneous superstitious behaviors start to come into your behavior, then you have to get rid of them. But really, when you're starting off, you want to watch for that one thing that you're looking for. So this video I'm going to show you is a little dog. He's a Yorkie Poo, and he's learning how to touch this ball. Now, this dog has no previous experience.
You can go switch. Oh, she's going to show a video.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got it. For the follow cam. Never mind. Okay.
So this dog has no experience with the ball, no interest in the ball at first.
Do we have a room monitor? Could you turn down the lights for the video? Oh, thank you, Mark.
So this isn't really working out too well. Well, now he's starting to look. Did you see that little lick? Because I clicked a little bit late there. So now we're getting more intention. Now, he didn't get a click there because he didn't quite get to the ball. Now he's going to go and show me, yes, I'm doing it.
There is actually a treat after each click. Joan just edited this to make it go faster.
Play ball. Play ball. Play ball. So now we're starting to add a cue because he's offering the behavior. Play ball. Play ball. Play ball. He's like, yeah, but it's way over there. Play ball. So this is the next day. And that's him just playing with the ball by himself without any
Play ball, Daddy.
any cue. Now here we are with the next day with giving him the cue.
You can see why the title of Karen's book is Reaching the Animal Mind, because you can see his mind working there like, what? Yeah, excellent. Good job. Tag.
I get a tag for moving the thing right. So what is shaping? Well, shaping is everything. Everything that has to do with increasing behavior. Adding distance, adding distraction, adding duration, increasing your precision. Precision being getting closer and closer to the absolute perfect behavior that you're looking for. Reducing latency, which is if I say sit, 3 seconds later the dog sits. That's a 3-second latency. I can shape that down until I get to the point where I say sit, the dog sits immediately. And speed, which is the speed of the behavior. So if we're working on running out to touch a target, the speed would be the speed that the dog goes out to the target. He might be at first trotting, and then I'm going to increase that to a full run.
Let me show you a little example of shaping for the ability to walk away from your dog on a downstay.
Oh, this is...
And, yeah, I'll just hold on to Cartman for a minute.
Sorry.
Because
Meanwhile, I'm showing you a fish.
Yeah, downstay fish. But people don't tend to think about this, that we can shape our own behavior. So when we're looking at leaving a dog on a downstay, stepping off with one step is going to be way too much for a lot of dogs for the first time you move away from them on a stay. So you can shape this by literally raising your heel off the ground, raising your foot off the ground to just the toe touching it, raising your foot off the ground a little bit like this, raising your foot off the ground, moving it out, raising your foot off the ground, moving it out, and stepping down with it. So that was maybe 6 or 8 that I just mentioned, splits in between lifting the foot and making that first step. So that's what shaping is, thinking in terms of all of those tiny baby steps. Okay, Cartman. Cartman is a Green Terror cichlid. Oh, I forgot I have voiceover.
Target stick training, and like any target training, this is the part where you wish you had 3 hands, one to hold the target, the treat, the clicker. And especially, of course, this flash is so annoying that sometimes it doesn't flash if your thumb isn't exactly in the right place, and I don't like to try to use that hand for anything else. So, here we go.
Did you see his light flash right there? That's his marker. And my criteria is any time he's oriented towards the target stick.
So he's being fed at
in
the
the
top.
first session, he actually touched it twice. He lipped it more than touched it. He actually put his mouth on it like it was a nipple.
But this is a fish, and he clearly gets the relationship between flash and treat. Fish do very funny things. Sometimes they come speeding like a bullet like that, and then sometimes they just kind of drift around aimlessly. And sometimes he doesn't go back up to get his treat. It's a whole other species for me as a dog trainer to try to figure out what's going on with fish.
And flashing him for any head-on orientation towards the target stick. And I have Tetra Crisps, the treats, lined up on the edge of the top of the tank, so I can just push them off into the feeding ring.
So that's a little bit of shaping with Cartman. And so here's just a little bit more of, the fish videos are so hypnotic to watch. I didn't edit them like Joan did with the cat.
This is Cartman's
because
third session of being shaped
didn't really
to
know
touch
I
a
was going to
target
use them.
stick. And he, in the first session, he touched twice in this, I'm sorry, this is the fourth session. The first session, he touched it twice. In the second session, I didn't get anything. And that's the one that's on video. The third session, I did not get on video, and he touched it 11 times. So I'm
Naturally.
anticipating some very nice successes here.
You'll notice Helix knows exactly how many times the fish touched the target and exactly how many minutes it was taking because it's important to know.
Yeah.
You know, then you can measure your success, especially with a fish where, you know, just observing doesn't really give you the information that you need to know about whether he's progressing.
I'm getting his food into the ring. There we go.
There he goes. Got a touch. There we go. That's good. You can stop Cartman.
And this is a quote from Karen, which I mentioned earlier. Shaping is the heart and soul of clicker training. And here's the cat touching a target with his nose, then a target with his paw, then a hand target. You know, and this is a shaping progression, you know, of moving from a different body part to touching a different target. It was obviously done in more than 3 steps, but it just gives you an idea of what kind of things we could shape. Why do we use shaping as opposed really to luring? It's fast and it's efficient. Once you get good at it and your animal starts to understand, it's so much faster than using a lure. I mean, you think you can get there faster with a lure because the dog sort of does it right away maybe, but they don't necessarily understand what they're doing and doing it with intention. If you shape, you get that intention and you get it much faster. It's fun and it's exciting for the animal, as you saw in that video with the little dog. You get permanent learning. You know, we've had dogs that we've taught here at Clicker Expo, and, you know, 3 years later they come back and it's, hey, it's me, and they give you a high five or, you know, do whatever it was that you taught them. It's just, it's amazing, you know, and we don't really understand why the learning is so permanent, but it is. Sometimes it's really the only way. There's some things that you just cannot get any other way. If you want a dog to do something at a distance, you know, how are you going to lure him to do that? Really the only way is to shape it. It creates empathy for the animal. And I think we kind of saw that with the fish. And with a little dog, you can see them thinking. You know, and you start to feel for them when if they don't get their click. You might see some videos where the person doesn't click it at the right time, or you might see in some of the labs, you know, you're watching someone shaping and you're just like willing them to click because you know the animal's going to feel bad if he doesn't get his click.
You also get to know, I forgot to warn you. You also get to know a lot about your animal by watching the way they train and their energy level, and you can tell when something's off just by how different they are in their training. And that something off may be physical, maybe they're not feeling well, or something in the environment that's different and causing them to worry. But you just have a whole different set of eyes when you're working on shaping with your animals. And one of the things, too, that happened with Cartman, I got that fish purposely to train along with my first set of Karen Pryor Academy students. They have to train a second species so that they learn that the rules are still the same and they apply across species. And so I thought I would, you know, work along with them. And so I got Cartman to train, and I was going to take him back to the fish store when I was done. And how could I, after learning how he thinks and learning how he displays stress and avoidance? I saw all of that. I also saw play behavior with him. He'll grab one of the plastic plants and swing on it like this. You know, so I mean, here's this whole relationship building up with this fish. You know, so how could I take him back to the fish store?
The animal becomes an active participant in the training rather than a passive vessel. You're not doing things to the animal, you're working with the animal. It opens up two-way communication. And once you start to develop a relationship, your animal will communicate back to you, and it becomes very clear when they're finished or when they are confused or when they want to do more. It's exhilarating and challenging. It becomes a bit addictive. Once you get it to be a shaping junkie, you just can't get enough of it. It's like Karen was saying, when you get a new species to train, it's so exciting to, get to try because it's going to work. It promotes creativity in you and in your animal, and it gets you thinking and the animal thinking. It's a lot sort of more difficult to plan and think and train with using your intelligence as opposed to using your strength.
And along that line, it takes a laser focus on your part to be so focused on every tiny movement your animal makes. And it also takes from your animal, it takes, so you see at Shed, I learned to stay animal instead of dog. I find myself still doing that. It takes a lot from your animal, too, to be so focused on learning. And what is it? How do I get her to click? What do I do next? So it's very, very tiring. So if you think of that old adage of a tired dog is a good dog, it doesn't necessarily mean a 2-mile jog. A 10-minute training session of thinking could tire that dog out even more than a 2-mile jog. Because it does, and you'll feel it yourself. You'll feel, oh my God, that was intense. I need a break, So.
And it's fun.
It is fun.
And you see that in our videos, and you'll see when we do our demos up on the stage that it is fun. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to do, and it's fun for the animal. So now, what's this?
This is Shaping Tunnel number 1. Let me make some comments so you can start it. Or,
you want me to start it?
Click it, but stop it.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop it.
Okay. This is a video clips from Sarah
I couldn't
Owings.
for the life of me make this tunnel small.
And if you've ever seen any of her video clips on YouTube, she's an excellent trainer, plus an excellent videographer. And she just recently graduated from the Karen Pryor Academy. So this is her dog, Zoe. She's shaping Zoe to do the agility tunnel. And this is the first shaping session on the tunnel. You see Zoe over there on her mat. Zoe is a dog that easily shuts down. And so Sarah has to go very carefully with the amount of stimulation she has. And so she always has kind of a reboot to the mat between training sessions because that's her conditioned relaxation. It's a control and leash program dog. And so this is her way to stay calm and relaxed and still in the game. But some of the things I want to mention that Sarah does in this video that are really, really good training. She sets her criterion for the session, and you'll hear her say on the video, this is what she's going to click for. That is so important to have in your mind exactly what you're going to click for. And she also, you'll see in this first one, she has a criteria she states out loud, but then she quickly realizes that's too much, and she changes it. She reduces it more, so that was good. The training plan that she's using suggests crunching up the tunnel to make it short so that it's easier for the dog. She's not able to do that, but she just says, okay, we're just going to go ahead with confidence anyway that we can do it. She waits for Zoe to look towards her after the click and then tosses her treat in some direction to reset her for another approach to the tunnel. Her timing is excellent. Sarah never misses a behavior that meets her criterion. And this is so important because with some animals, if they don't get clicked for that criterion, they'll move right on to something else totally often left world from what you would thought they were going to do. Her timing is excellent. Zoe is active and energetic and engaged for the whole session. With Zoe, that's a really important part. Sarah describes her as having fluctuating confidence. I think that was cute. So she keeps the training sessions very short and with a very high rate of reinforcement. And you'll hear her clicks coming very frequently because she has chosen her criteria to be so simple that the dog will get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, and the rate of reinforcement is high. Okay. Yeah.
Tunnel smaller, so we're going to just try this, but the criteria is just going to be sticking her nose in. And you ready, Zoe? The criteria actually is just any looking or moving towards that
That's where she reduced her criteria
tunnel
right off the bat.
whatsoever. Okay, Zoe.
She's just randomly tossing the treats. Where the treats go in this exercise is irrelevant. So she just wants to set the dog up for another try.
Okay, that was 10 things.
You notice her
girl.
criteria is looking at the tunnel. Even though momentum is carrying the dog's feet
Respect.
into the tunnel or whatever, she doesn't run with that as a lead.
girl.
Her
Take a break.
criteria is very clear. And that's exactly the way to work with this dog. I would say with any dog, but definitely this dog. Okay, let's go with number 2.
Okay, round 2. This time I'm going to click her just for going near it with her nose in some way. Very accomplished at catching the treats too. Whoops, look at that one. That I threw badly. Good girl.
The other thing about Sarah, which is another good training practice, is she's very rarely
girl.
talks. Occasionally she can't help
Okay, all done.
the odd good
On your
girl,
spot.
but she's letting the clicker do the talking.
Girl. That was 10 treats, and I think it was less than a minute, so good high rate of reinforcement.
Number 3.
Whoops. What happened there? I was using the mouse, but I clicked on the wrong.
All right, I was trying to give Zoe a little break there, but she was so eager, she just kept trying to jump in the tunnel. So we're going to try one more round. This time I think I'll do head and front paws for criteria. Let's see what happens.
And this is a good example
Okay,
of
Zoe.
tiring the dog out. Like, she hasn't run 10 miles. She's only been training for like 3 minutes, and she's already
Sorry, Bub.
panting and emotionally tired. It's nice to have a dog that can catch treats in the air like that.
Yeah.
I sometimes teach dogs that on purpose so that I can get a high rate of reinforcement.
See, she knows when she doesn't get a click that it's got to be a little bit more. We want to throw that in just for the heck of it.
Some creativity there.
Now that could have been related to the siren, just a little bit of stress response.
This will be our last one because she's getting a little tired. She's anticipating the click. Good girl. Good girl. All done. On your spot. And that's the end of that one.
And then the last video clip on this is going to
All
be
right,
the
I was
next
trying
day.
to give
where
Zoe a
she's
little break there, but
adding
she
the-
was so...
And I want to show you this because clicker trainers don't tell the dog the name of the behavior until they're offering it reliably, until they're intentionally doing it.
Okay, so you ready?
And this is a good example of that. So Sarah has a verbal marker, get it, that she's using instead of the click. And that marker is tells the dog the reinforcer will be out in front of her. So she's using the get it and a tossed reinforcer, tossed glove with hot dogs in it. Now she's just waiting to see what Zoe does.
So this is a good example of using a verbal marker instead of the clicker, which you can do when it's not a highly precise behavior. I mean, coming out of the end of the tunnel is not as precise as putting one paw in and then 2 paws in. So there's sometimes when you need to use a clicker and sometimes you can use a verbal.
So now she put the name on it right before Zoe was headed into it. That's when we name a behavior. So it's very hard for this verbal species that we are to hold off on that. I think that's good.
The rules of shaping always work. The rules apply to all species, and here are the rules. And this is posted in the website, so you can get the presentation. Click once. Click on time. Associate the click with reinforcement, which means every time you click, the dog is reinforced. It's always, if there's a click, there's a treat or the toy. There's always reinforcement after the click. You ignore undesirable behavior. If the dog does something that's off criteria, we just ignore it. We never say no or or anything like that. We just completely ignore it.
When Zoe pawed at the tunnel, Sarah did nothing. Didn't or oh my God, I don't want that, or make any big deal out of it. She just totally ignored it, let Zoe offer something else that was clickable, and moved right on and right past it.
And we strengthen the desirable behavior while ignoring the undesirable behavior. And if an undesirable, yes? Uh-huh. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, we call that a no reward marker.
Yeah, and
there-
it's
Oh, go ahead. No, you go.
if
I'm going to say the same thing.
if you've ever, you probably haven't since you're new, but there is a training game you can play with humans as trainers and the animal being trained. And in that game, humans learn how demoralizing it is to be told you're wrong over and over again. Even if the rights far outweigh the wrong, it just sends your brain right in the toilet. You know, it's not fun. So we let the binary sense of the clicker. No click means try something else. And that speaks volumes, and it's all that's needed. Yeah.
You know, and there are
And
people,
it keeps us, the trainer, in a good frame of mind that we're thinking positive, we're looking for what we want and not focused on what we don't want.
you know, and I think we've all done that in the early stages
Oh, yeah.
of our training. I've done it, Helix has done it, and I think you'll find a universal agreement among the faculty here and anybody that's ever been on faculty, and Karen herself and all the KPA people, that a no reward marker is it's just not necessary, and it can be very demoralizing. And so, you know, why use something when you really don't need to? And the better you get at this, the more you realize you just really don't need it.
Yep.
Yes? Well, a dog can learn a chain, certainly. Yeah, so I mean, if the dog is learned that if I go to the door and then I get out and then I come back in, I get a treat. And a dog can certainly learn
And
that pattern. And
to bring that back to shaping, there are many times where I have been, clicking for any interaction with an object, and I might get several paw touches in a row and think, okay, I'm going to go with paw touch. But then the dog's kind of stalled and he does a nose touch, and I'll click that just because he got unstalled and he touched it. It's like, okay, then he does a paw touch, and now I'm back on clicking paw touches, and then he does a nose touch. Now my brain has to say, uh-oh, if I click that nose touch again, I'm going to be making nose paw, nose paw, nose paw happen. So you as the trainer have to be one step ahead. Am I creating a chain here? Like once is like, okay, I'll help, you know, I'll go for it once. But if I go for it twice, I'm very likely going to be creating a chain.
the way to fix that is to put that behavior on cue. I mean, you're not giving a cue to start that chain. The dog is initiating that chain. So the way to break those kind of chains is to put the behavior on cue. Yeah. And we actually had that Kona video we could show at the end.
Oh.
So there's, unless we took it out. Well, we had that exact situation where I was teaching a dog to toss.
That's funny. Maybe that's why we had it there.
Maybe. The difference between tossing the toy and putting her paw on the toy. And she got the idea that she should put her paw on the toy and then pick it up and toss it. And so my criteria was toss it. There was no cues yet. I'm just trying to shape. She puts her paw on it, then she picks it up and tosses it. So I click because she tossed it. She does that again, and I click because she tossed it. And I think, I realize I've clicked this 2 or 3 times, and this dog is exceptionally smart and a good shaper. Now she thinks that that's what she's supposed to do. So my solution to that is I got a chair, and I put the toy on the chair so she wouldn't be able to put her paw on it first, or it would be more difficult. And then she started picking it up off the chair, and then she understood, okay. So that's how I cleared it up for the dog. So if you are getting those kinds of superstitious behaviors, it's because you are not communicating to the dog exactly what you want, and you haven't set it up properly. I mean, there's always a way. If the dog's jumping on you, jump and sit is another thing that people consistently train. Because the dog jumps on you, and then it sits, and then you click and treat. And then it starts to think,
Jump, sit.
jump and sit, jump and sit. You know, the way to prevent that is with some kind of a barrier. You know, or ask for the sit sooner, or have a mat and have the dog sit on the mat. Put the dog on a leash. I mean, there's various ways that you can prevent the jumping and still get the sit. But if you click, jump and sit, 5 or 6 times, you've trained that and you're going to have to untrain it. Everything that can be trained can be untrained.
Cool.
So this is a nice little video. This is my little niece. I think she's 7 and maybe 8. And she's teaching Dusty, her new puppy, how to put her head down. So the dog already has a settle cue. So she's asked the dog to settle to start with. So she's looking for just a dip, a head dip. So you see this puppy's already thinking, what is it
for
that I have
7,
to
she
do?
really shoots well. Or for any age, really.
She's a terrific trainer because she stands still. She has her criteria. If the dog meets the criteria, she clicks. If the dog doesn't meet the criteria, she doesn't click. You can see it's a little jumpy. Sometimes I've edited out some staring. You know, so now she's looking for the nose right in between the paws.
That's crazy. Oh.
No, it wasn't quite good enough. Not quite good enough.
She's doing less and less trying to get at 50 meters.
Now I have a personal rule, and a lot of other people follow this rule. And with Tag Teach, we have this rule. We call it the 3-try rule. So if the animal tries 3 times, doesn't get a click, then you back off your criteria. So you're never going to let the dog go unreinforced more than 3 times. And I don't even usually let it go more unreinforced more than once. You know, like a new dog, I wouldn't want to even go 3 times without it getting reinforced. But this dog really understands the process. Now she's experimenting. Well, maybe
Isn't that cute?
Now watch. You're going to see. Now watch the paw. You're going to see a superstitious behavior coming in a minute.
Oh, the paw was lifted.
Yeah, this is a good example of what we were just talking about.
I think she's getting frustrated.
Okay, we'll click her for anything that's close to doing
So
it.
Katie said, I think she's getting frustrated. And I said, just click her for anything. And so she does a paw, gets a click for that. Now watch what happens.
Well, see, she's busy, although she's lying still. This is a really nice way to shape a stay.
Damn it.
Now this dog is just a shaper's dream. You know, so she'll repeat behaviors and she'll offer new behaviors. You know, she has some resistance to extinction. If she doesn't get the click, she's still going to keep on trying. And this session is way too long for a puppy, but
Sometimes it's hard to quit.
well, and I want to get video. You know, I know they're
Yeah.
leaving, and I want to get it done. And a lot of my videos are the training sessions are way too long.
Settle.
The very first thing we taught that puppy was settle, so that's her sort of default best ever behavior, which is really useful to have as the dog's most favorite behavior. So now she's adding a bit of duration, so I'm going to stop it because she does get there.
Don't look at her.
I'm saying don't look at her. That's another thing. It's hard not to look at the dog, but when you're shaping, it's better to try to avoid eye contact because you kind of, sometimes they just start staring at you and you're staring at them, and
It just glues
You
them
know,
in
start
place.
saying, ask her if she's tired. Say, are you tired? When she's.
so now she's going to
what-
add the cue, which we saw in another video. But you can see that went fairly quickly. I don't know how that long went. That was, say, 2 minutes. Yeah, and she puts the cue. She's starting to add the cue, are you sleepy?
This is a video clip from a cyber agility student, Carolyn Frank, and she is taking this dog to bow. It's a very clicker savvy dog. So she's clicking any head bob to start with. And you can see how her mechanical skills are really good. Her hands are still, her body's still. She doesn't reach for the treat until after the click. She's got a good rate of reinforcement.
She's taking breaks after every 30 or seconds or so.
Yeah, when the scene changes, there was a break. Now she's clicking the elbows, crunching down.
Now she has a cue to calm her dog, that touching the dog's shoulder. When the dog starts to get sort of overheated and overexcited, she touches her on the shoulder. That was a trained cue for calm, which is really useful because the dog can't learn if it's so wound up that it's just spinning and operating 500 behaviors at a time. So she's really good at reading her dog and understanding when the dog is getting too overexcited. And now she's got the elbows.
She missed a click there. Did you see that? And see, this is what happened. The dog is now confused. And what the heck?
See the frustration building because the dog didn't get a click?
Yeah, and so she's frantically thinking, what am I going to do? And she's just getting ready to click anything, and the dog happens to crouch, and she's back on track.
Good boy.
See how she's using the treat placement to sort of reset the dog? The dog's coming in too close to repeat the behavior, so she's putting the treats farther away so the dog has a chance to
The dog's
reset.
getting over-aroused and really was due for a break here.
Like this is a kind of quit while you're ahead situation. She really should have stopped.
Yeah.
Now the behavior's starting to break down a little bit. He's not staying down as long. He's not going down as far.
Excellent. Good. So you're starting to see the little slices of behavior, the things you have to start with, and to get down the road where you want to be? Yes. I would throw it anytime I'm trying to generate movement. If I want to teach a dog to run to a mat, I'm not going to hand it to the dog. I'm going to toss it away so they're running to the mat. No, I would toss it away from the mat. So they have to come back and do what they did before to get the click. But sometimes you do want to hand the treat to the dog's mouth if it's something positional. I'm trying to think of an example. I do so much treat tossing now, I can't think of when I do. But handing a treat in position is going to help the dog stay there. And basically, I don't usually want dogs staying there. I want them moving and doing stuff, offering behaviors.
I think if you watch any of the faculty training, you'll see a lot of food flying around. Most of us train pretty much exclusively by tossing the treats because you do get the movement. You want the dog reset for the next time, and you want the dog not to be following the food around. You know, if he's just going to the mat because the food's there, he's not really learning about the intentionality of going to the mat. He's just, oh, there's the food. You know, you kind of want the food to be irrelevant in a way, but then sometimes you want to set up the food in a certain way. Like if you're trying to teach a dog to run around a cone, for example, you know, you might want to throw the treats in a certain way so that he's ready to go for the next one. Not that you're throwing the treat so that he'll follow it, but you're throwing the treat so that he's ready to do the next thing. We want to always set up for success so that our animal has its very best chance of succeeding. You know, this isn't a game of, you know, we're trying to trick them. Or I'm wondering if we could just hold our questions to the end. We're going to stay after, and you can come and we have a lab. Well, actually, we're going to our lab after. But after our lab, we'll be there for half an hour.
After our lab, you can have us.
Because we have some we want to do some demos, and we don't want to run out of time.
Okay.
So we want to set up for success. This isn't a game of, you know, we're going to trick them. The old way of training, we'd kind of set the dog up and sort of hope he would fail so that we could correct him. Well, clicker training is exactly the opposite.
I can't remember who just said to me in the last couple of days that her main thought when she's working with her dog is, how can I make this dog win? How can I set this up so the dog wins? Right now, in this moment, how can I make him win?
And so the things to consider when you're setting your dog up for success is the reinforcers. You've probably heard lots of people here, including Karen, say, use the hot dogs. You know, we're here, it's very exciting, it's a party, it's stressful. in order for the dog to succeed here, he needs a really good reinforcer, hot dogs or some rollover or something fantastic. Where at home he might work for kibble, but here it's different.
I have to say something interesting about the hot dogs. Maybe it's just interesting to me. After 7 years of Expo and watching our Expo staff spend hours cutting up this hot dogs, this is the first time the hotel did them for them. It just blew everybody away because they asked him, can we store our hot dogs in your kitchen? Oh, we'll cut them up for you. God, can you imagine? It's unbelievable. It just blows me away. That's Oregon for you. Yep. I don't know what they did for them. But yeah.
So we want to consider health and nutrition. You know, especially if you have a small dog, you don't want to fill it up with all kinds of, bacon bits and all those, treats that are incredibly yummy but not incredibly healthy. So it's good to have a balance. You can have the odd, really, really gross and disgusting, unhealthy treat, but really you want to try to use healthy treats when you can. If you have a small dog, or even a big dog, it's good to use their food. I do a lot of my training with just the kibble, so I'm going to hand feed the dog and then feed it the rest of its meal. If you feed raw or you feed to something else, you can cut it up into small pieces. Get 10 clicks maybe before you feed the dog the rest of its meal. So then you're not, filling him up with treats. You're using his own food. Considering the training environment.
And balance the reinforcers against the training environment. If you're at home feeding the dog kibble for shaping sessions for breakfast or dinner, that's fine. But don't come to training class and expect your dog to work for kibble the same way he does at home. There are some that can do that, but be prepared to come with something really valuable to work in that training environment when there's people and dogs and noise.
And conversely, if you don't need to use liver treats or hot dogs at home, the dog will work for kibble, then
do it.
Use the kibble. Because those special, incredibly tasty treats are best saved for high-stress environments. Consider the training environment. You want to make it safe. You wanted the dog to be able to succeed. When I get a new dog at my house, usually I start training in the bathroom because there's really nothing of interest in there other than me. There's no cats and there's no other dogs and there's nothing to look out the window and there's no bunnies and so you have to think of these things, like what is going to be the environment that's the least stressful, that's going to allow your animal to succeed, especially at first when they really don't know what they're supposed to do. Consider the physical capabilities. If you have a wiener dog, the first thing you might not want to teach him is to jump over a jump. He might never be able to jump over a jump, but he'll be good at going through a tunnel. So you want to start with something particularly that your animal can do. Rabbits like to jump. So the first thing that we usually teach rabbits is to jump over a hurdle. They love to go through tunnels. If you put a tunnel in front of any kind of a rodent, like the little hamster there, that is taught to go through the tube there, he'll go through that. If you put it down, the animal will go through, you can click. But teaching him to go over a bridge is going to be a little bit harder. So consider the physical capabilities and start with something that's easy that your animal is inclined to do. And for your early shaping sessions, use easy behaviors. Natural behaviors are easier to train. If you have a retriever, it's going to be easier to teach him to retrieve. If you have a beagle, it's going to be easier to teach him scent discrimination. So think about those things. And of course, safety. You don't want to take your dog to the dog park and try to train him there. Too distracting, too much danger. You want to always make sure that your animals are safe. Human skills that we need: clicker timing, which you can practice easily in front of the TV by clicking every time someone turns to the left or every time there's a scene change, or pick something and you can easily practice. There's some little games on the internet too that you can use to practice your timing. Having treat delivery skills, and that just comes with practice. It's a mechanical skill. Anybody can learn it. Just like anything else, it just takes practice.
Along with treat delivery skills is having treats that you can handle well and easily. You have to balance that with what the dog will work for. But, have things that you can get to quickly, that you can give, rapidly, that here, when we first started doing expos, we were trying to toss treats on these kind of floors, and the dogs couldn't find them because of the carpet camouflage, which is now why we put down the muslin tarps in the lab so they can find the treats. You kind of have to think about those things. If you're training out in your driveway, would the color of cheese work better against your color of your concrete, or would something else, dark or light?
If you're working on the grass, that's a good time to hand feed. 'Cause if you
Yeah,
start
there you go.
tossing treats on the grass, you spend half your time waiting for the dog to find the treat, which is fun. And sometimes that's a good reinforcer. You know, a lot of times we use the treasure hunt as a sort of final reinforcer for the end of a session. The dog does the thing, and then we toss a handful of food out into the grass, and you know, he's happy for 20 minutes, and then that's the end of our training session. Ignoring errors is an important skill, and it sounds easy, but it really gets the hardest thing, especially if you've been a parent or you've tried to train anything else in the past. It's very difficult to get your mind around just ignoring those errors, especially if they're obnoxious. You know, if it's jumping and biting at you, it's hard to ignore them, and sometimes you have to just say, okay, that's enough of that. We're going to stop. We're going to have a barrier. We're going to work out some way that we can ignore those behaviors without, you know, getting hurt or having the animal, you know, learn those little chains that we were talking about. Learning to change criteria. You know, when do you move up to the next criteria? How often are you going to click for one thing before you raise it? A lot of that is it's personal preference. It's how your animal learns. You know, it's just something that you're going to learn as you get better at this. Planning. Now, planning is something that everybody can do, and we certainly encourage you to plan your sessions ahead. Sometimes we do free shaping where it's just fun. Dog offers something, we click. You offer something else, we click. We'll try to do a little demo of that. But most of the time, especially if you're training for something important, you know, you want to plan your sessions ahead. And observation skills. Best place to get observation skills is go to dog class without your dog. You know, and watch what's going on. Go to the dog park without your dog. Just watch what other dogs are doing, because, you know, then you don't have to worry about your dog, but you can observe what other animals are doing.
I am having an interesting experience over the last few months. I am steeped in teaching pet manners classes of a nature that I haven't taught before. I've always taught classes where people came because they wanted clicker training. These are now pet manners people who are coming to class, and we just do clicker training. That's what we do. And so I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't usually see in my classes, you know, the crazy stuff with people and dogs. But we were talking about dogs before class, and we have this gentleman that has a 6-month, 7-month-old Lhasa Apso, you know, Dale. Cheryl teaches there too. And we were talking before class, and I mentioned that dogs are completely predictable. And he's like, what? I said, they are predictable. They are absolutely predictable. And I have a friend who years ago when she got her first dog, she was a German Shepherd, and she was really afraid of dogs. And being that she was an anthropologist, she thought, I'll just kick back and study this dog like I was studying a culture. And she, you know, after several days, she realized, oh my God, this animal is completely predictable. And they really are. And so this guy ran with that through the whole class. He would do something, I'd say, that was a good click, Dale, for that. He said, because it was predictable, I saw it, right? I said, yes, right. He was using that phrase all through class when he would discover for himself how predictable that dog was. You know. So once you watch dogs for a lot, even if you just go dog park and watch what they do, you'll find you're going to be able to predict when the dog's going to turn his head, when he's going to do something.
So do you want to do the mat?
Yeah,
the
yes.
mat thing now?
Is Chaos here?
Chaos, the dog?
Yeah, Chaos the dog.
Do you want to?
Oh.
Do you want to come up?
Yes, okay. Oh, he's not here. Okay. Oh, no, here was where I wanted him. Probably not, because we're running tight on time. How far away is he? How far away is he? Okay, that's okay. We'll see him in lab. So let's use Rigby for that, for this. Have you trained Rigby to go to a mat? Okay. All right. Okay, just hang on to him for a minute while I explain
You want
to
to move
people
the
what.
chair up so the camera will be able to catch it?
Oh yeah, I got to sit down. You're right. This is something I teach my beginner students to do. Is shape the dog to go to a mat, and I'm going to. Sure, he's cute. I haven't met him before, Ann. Shaping, the deal with shaping is it's art and science both. There's a whole art form to learning about when to click and when to raise criteria and reading the dog, and it doesn't come automatically. It comes with practice. But I have been able to get the beginner people in my pet manners classes to be pretty successful with shaping the dog to go to mat by reducing it to a little bit of a formula. And I don't want to give you the idea that shaping is a formula, because it isn't really. But for this particular thing, it works out pretty well that way. So I'm going to show you the way that I do that with the pet manners people. And then in lab, the working dogs are going to do this behavior too. So let me schmooze here with, got to find my clicker, with Rigby. Oh my goodness, he's pretty.
Now this might be another time for hand feeding because this is such a tiny little dog.
Come here, sweet pea.
You know,
Oh, there's a free one.
oh, he's just a puppy.
How old is he? Good. Oh, he's nice and active. Begging for treats. Oh, over there, Rigby. Right there, honey. No, right there, sweetie. Okay, so I'm just kind of building a little relationship here. That he knows I know how to drive the clicker now, and so we'll see what we can do with that. So for shaping go to mat, what I do is I put the mat between myself and the dog. So when the dog is involved with the mat, he's also facing me, and that, you know, that's where the source of the treats are. So that's a setup for success. Yeah. Okay. Rigby. So I'm going to get, oh, look at this. My first criteria is I'm going to click him for looking at it. Rigby. Oh my gosh, what is this? Oh my gosh. Oops, there's a 2
So he's just getting clicks for approaching.
for looking, actually. He happens to be approaching at the same time, but I am actually only clicking him for looking.
Looking at you or looking at the mat?
The mat. All done. I think that was my thingy. Okay, Rigby, come here, sweetie. Good. So I like to give him a little break, and now we're going to go back to work again. This time I'm going to click him for approaching the mat. And when you're clicking on for a behavior of motion, you really want to click when the little feet are moving. If you click when the dog stops, you're teaching him to stop. So little feet's moving is what we're after. And they are little, too. Rigby! What do you got?
There's not too much trouble with this dog's feet not moving.
Your treat's over there, honey. I just had to straighten the mat. There we go. Okay, that was jumping, but we'll go with that. There was, I got a good one in for moving. If I wait too long, I'm liable to get him to stop. So conservative says, click while you've got the motion, and don't worry about how far he gets at this time. We're just getting motion. Excellent. All done. Good job, Rigby. Kisses. Good boy. Oh, you're so soft. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, you're so soft. Good squidgy butt.
So you want to find something during your breaks at the dog.
Give me that mat.
You want to find something to do in the little breaks that the dog actually likes. So this dog likes the kind of petting and playing around. Some dogs, maybe you want to play with a toy or...
Yep. Okay, this time my criteria is going to be 1 foot, any 1 foot on the mat. Rigby! You ready? Rigby! And he's even coming at it from the side, not from straight onto me, so that's perfect.
You see how tossing the treat away sets the dog up for the next time?
Oh, I hate it when that happens. Here, Bubba, take that one.
Hopefully he can't count.
But he knows it's there. Somebody will rescue it, right? All done. So you might wonder, why am I cutting him off when he's doing really great? That's why I'm cutting. I worked very hard to teach myself to quit early. I know you're so scratchy. Huh?
You know, the temptation to just do that one more and that one more is so strong because you've been reinforced by the dog's behavior. And then all of a sudden it'll start to fall apart and then, you know, it's not
So now I'm
good
going to
for
click
you.
him for any feet on the mat. 2, 3, 4, how many ever? Rigby! Come on, Bubba. Here you go.
Now you're starting to see him moving with intention onto the mat. He's starting to figure it out now.
Go
You know,
pound
at
that
first it
mat.
was incidental because the mat's sort of in his way to get back to Helix, but now he's definitely doing it on purpose.
Now I'm testing what happens when I don't click. That was on purpose on my part, to see if I would get a little more from him. I'm getting a head bob. Have you seen that? So I'm starting to get something superstitious added here. Now I'm going to click quickly before I get that and see if I can extinguish it here in the next couple of clicks. Yeah, it looks like we got it gone. Good. I'm going to stretch him a little bit here because he's resilient. You're so cute. Awesome, good boy. Awesome, good boy. Well done. Auntie Helix knows when to quit. Good job. Thank you, Ann.
Hey, somebody give Helix a ticket for quitting when the right time.
Oh, thank you.
Did you want to do this PASH video? Or
No, let's skip that one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much,
Okay,
Ann.
thank you. That was perfect.
Okay.
So here's how we make a plan. And this plan is for a cat. And the goal is to get the cat to sit in the basket. So we'll start at the end in making our plan. So look at the top right there. The goal is to sit in the basket. And the step before that would be 2 paws in the basket. And before that, 1 paw in the basket. And before that, just looking at the basket. And before that, moving towards the basket. And before that, just looking towards the basket. So we're going to build those things up, one step at a time. And this we call the shaping staircase. You know, and say we got stuck at between putting 2 paws in the basket and sitting in the basket. That's almost too big of a jump. You know, that might not work. So we might have to make another little shaping plan just to get from putting 2 paws in to going to sitting in the basket. You know, 3 paws and then 4 paws and then sitting in the basket. And the video we're going to show the cat in a minute, but the video here is the dog.
I'll explain what that is. This is, in case anybody wants to know what breed this is, could you it's a Chappendose. It's a really cool dog. And this was one of my Karen Pryor Academy students who had shaped her dog to go into that dog bed at home prior to the first workshop. And then in the first workshop, they do a demonstration of what they've accomplished. And so she was warming up her dog. And so what she did very wisely and very nicely was she quickly shaped him to go to the bed, 1 click at a time for each step in the training plan. So this was just a review for the dog, but because it was a new place and all, she just clicked him for each step in the training plan. And so I got that on video, and this is slow motion, but you get to really see each step in the training plan because she was so good at clicking it. So.
Now she would have shaped this all, 1 step at a time. This is just a rerun through every single step. And notice even though he already went all the way in, she's still putting the treat out because she wants him to come back and do it again and go a little bit further.
She just ignored that and waited.
And it's tempting to give him the food in the mat once he lies on it, because ultimately you do want him to stay on the mat. But when we're teaching the go to the mat, we want him to just keep getting up, off it, going back to it, off it, going back to it, because what we want is the intention to just go to that mat. Like you saw with the dog in the tunnel when she was done and she said go to the mat. The dog just thrilled to go to the mat, can't wait to go to the mat.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, it's still going. It'll stop when we start the next one.
Oh, no, it's still going.
Okay, I know. But still, I thought it'd stop. Okay, there we go. Now we've made our shaping plan for the cat. Now we're going to execute the plan, which means gathering all the appropriate equipment so that we can succeed and the animal can succeed. Start the shaping, know when to stop. We just saw a fantastic example of knowing when to stop from Helix here. And document the progress. Write it down. How many clicks? Time it. How many clicks did you get in a certain period of time? 30, 45-second training sessions is really, really what you want. What we're going to see here is a too long training session, and you'll see what happens when you go too long.
This is Joe. He understands clicker training and operant behavior, but this is his first free shaping session with no prompts. So first we start with a treat out near the basket. He gets a click for being out there. I'm trying to get him to interact somehow with that basket.
We've speeded up the eating part because it's kind
As
of
soon as he
slow with
takes
the
his
cat.
attention off me, I give him a click. Another click for staying out there. Now he's coming back. He's used to getting treats near me, so it's hard for him to stay away. So I just wait. There, he gives a slight look away from me. Click for that.
So my criteria is really low.
Another
It's
click
just,
while he's still out there.
just look away. Now tossing the treats is
Now
helping
he's starting
him
to get the
stay.
idea that staying away from me on that near that basket is a good thing.
So you see now he
And
stopped
you can
coming
see him
in.
thinking a little bit. There's something going on. He's not quite sure what. Oh, time for a bath. Yeah, that was an inadvertent look at the basket. Another inadvertent look. He hasn't really noticed the basket yet, but he's figured out that he should stay over there. Another inadvertent look. Yeah, now we might be getting a little bit more purposeful. Oh, there he is, looking in the basket.
So now I intentionally throwing
Now
the
we have a
treat
serious
away.
distraction going on in the background. You can see the cat is still focused on figuring out what it is he needs to do. Now he's getting a little bit more purposeful about touching the basket.
Now I'm making sure to throw the food away from the basket further so that he has to actually walk towards it every time. Now I should have stopped there because look.
Most cats will make it very clear to you when the training session is over. This cat's very polite. Some cats just turn their back and leave. So, you all done?
I've seen the fish do that too.
So this is the next day. As soon as we put the basket out, he went straight to it. You see, this session is much shorter. No, I'm sticking to my plan. I wanted the head in the basket. I'm going to click for the head in the basket. I'm not going to hope for that he puts a paw in, because what if he doesn't? There's one paw. You know, it's tempting to, when you see them start to do it, to sort of hold off and hope they go the next step. But if they don't, then you've set yourself back. It's better to keep to your plan. You know, shape every step in the process. You need a certain amount of zen to train a cat.
This is Joe.
Some other human skills is trying to set up for errorless learning, which means that they get it right every time. So you're setting it up specifically so they can't fail. So an example is if you wanted the dog to discriminate between two things. First, you only give him one. I mean, if he's learned to target something and you show him only one target, he's only going to go for that target. So if I wanted to teach him the difference between, touch the shoe and touch the ball, I would start with only the ball. And then I would work on only the shoe, so he can't possibly make a mistake. Then I would put the shoe like way over here and the ball closer. So I would really work on trying to make it so easy and so obvious that the animal's going to get it right, and then we make it, harder and harder as it goes, but still only increasing the criteria slowly. Ping-ponging back and forth between your criteria. So say we were working on a dog backing up. So he takes one step backwards and I click. Then he takes two steps backwards and I click. Then he takes one step and he's going for two, but I click at one. And then the next time he takes two, I click for two, and then three, and then four, and then three, and then two, and then three, and then four. And so I'm never making it harder and harder and harder because it's not really fair, you know, and eventually they'll give up. But if they're not quite sure, you know, they're always going to offer a little bit more, but sometimes you make it easy. You know, so if I'm sending the dog out, you know, 200 feet or something, sometimes I'll click at 20 feet. You know, or if we're working on retrieves, I'm not going to throw it further and further and further every time. It's going to be, you know, throw it 10 feet, then 5 feet, then 10 feet, then 12 feet, you know, so that we're ping-ponging around our criteria, but the average is always moving in the direction of where we want to go. It's important to know your learner, and that's just practice and observing and spending a lot of time with your animal. And again, documenting your progress.
Let's not do that one.
Okay, we're not going to do that one. Okay. Other ways, human skills, getting behavior going. Luring is a way. You know, if you hold food in front of the dog will follow the food. You know, and it is one way to get behavior going. But if you do it too much, he just learns to follow the food. And so if you are going to use luring, you know, you might lure a sit 2 or 3 times and then that's it. You know, then you're just going to wait for it. Capturing behavior, which is just waiting for it to happen and then clicking when it does. If you put some kind of a toy out and the dog goes near it and you click, that's capturing. What we saw Helix doing here was a capturing session. Using a target, so teaching the animal to touch a target with its nose or its paw, and then using that to help the animal learn. So we could have, instead of shaping that cat to go into the basket, we could have taught him to touch a target with his paw, put the target in the basket. You know, he would have gone in the basket to touch the target, and then we make the target smaller and smaller and smaller until it's gone, which is a lot. Most people would teach a service dog to push a button that way. You know, you teach him to touch a sticky note or something with his nose that's big, or a margarine lid, and then you make it smaller and smaller and smaller, you know, and then you put it on the button. Moving around, moving your body, getting the dog moving. You know, it's important to try to get some movement going. Getting good at treat delivery, whether you're tossing or handing the food. Again, it's just practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And problem solving. You know, some people are better at that than others. As you practice and get better, you'll be better at problem solving. The other way to solve problems is to talk to people, get on the internet, join groups. There's lots of clicker groups and people who will help you with solving problems.
And you'll all be invited to join the Clicker Expo list, where you have great conversation.
It's a great list, yeah. When you get your invitation, make sure you sign up for that, because all the faculty are on there and people will respond. You know, and Ken Ramirez is on there, and if there's a good question, even he will respond. Karen's on. You know, and people are monitoring that, and you'll get some really good answers. So do we have a dog here that is not?
The Boston Terrier.
Okay.
You want to try that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So now
he
it's
here?
Molly's turn. Yes,
Molly? She? Sorry.
Yeah. And I also have an extra stray treat there.
Do we have a
Sally, we have rollover
hoop? Do we have a hoop?
and hot dog. The hot dogs are pretty darn small. And the rollover I've broken up into little bits.
I'll just break it with my finger. Or the rollover is pretty small.
Okay.
We're not going to go for very long.
Okay.
Okay, well, does she know about touching a target? Yeah. Does she know about, how about paw? Touching a target with her paw?
Okay. So, what you want me to hand you treats?
Yeah, I'll just think. Okay. I should have a clicker too.
Okay. Oh, you need a loud clicker for the follow cone.
A real clicker. Thank you.
No, I said a loud clicker. I didn't say a
loud
real one.
clicker. Sorry, not a real clicker, a loud clicker. Those iClicks are great for some things, and the loud clickers are great for some things. It's, you know, it's your choice. Some dogs are afraid of the louder clicker. What's her name, Molly? Molly. This is a freebie. I'm just clicking her for being sort of near me.
For being Molly.
Oops.
Did they hear you say you're going for a paw touch?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going for, actually any kind of interaction with that thing. Oh, she didn't see it. Can you point the treat out to her? So she's not really used to chasing the treats. That's something that the dogs actually have to learn. I want her to put her paw on the thing. But what I want to show you first is a dog that will sort of stare at you. Sometimes you get a dog that just stares at you and won't do anything. And I'm just doing this on purpose to get her to stare at me. isn't really good training. But I want to show you how you break that. A lot of people get into this trouble of the dog is so trained to give them attention that they try to do free shaping and they get this. You know, a dog that just sits and stares waiting for a treat. Well, what are you going to do? Okay, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. The second she looks away from me even for a minute, even a flash of anything that's not staring at me, I'm going to click and throw the treat. Now she's moving. Now she's coming back. Now I'm going to click her before she even gets to me. I don't know what that was, but it wasn't a treat. She just snuffled up there.
It went, whatever it was, it went down.
So now she's staring at me again. I'm not going to look
Whoa,
at her.
excellent.
Yeah, she looks away.
That was kudos to Joan, because it's hard to talk and grab something like that on the fly.
No, she's still got the idea of staring at me, so I'm not going to look at her as she looks away. Now I'm feeding from my hand. I'm just showing you the difference between feeding from my hand and feeding from... Oh, that was so
good point, Joe. More.
She likes rollovers. Well, this is good. This is what I want to...
So what I always tell students is look at the prop, not the dog.
Okay, I'll look at the prop. See, I should have clicked that. Did you see a little flick away from me? Yeah, she's snuffing. So by feeding from my hand is another way to teach her that it's not about the treat. And so I encourage the movement by tossing the treats. And now I'm feeding from my hand because she's kind of got the idea of, oh, shoot. Talking and not, I didn't have my hand on the right part of the clicker. How many people do that? So now she's learning. It's not about the treats. It's about her offering some kind of behavior. So I'm going to stop now because that was good. You know, I didn't get the...
Yeah. That was
exactly
nice,
to the
intentional behavior,
But it was
though.
nice that she's purposely looking away from me and she's got the... Oh, okay.
Keep going. What the hell?
It's just not fair to just stop like that.
And that's one of the reasons why we strongly advocate picking up the prop when you're not training, so the dog doesn't do something, not get reinforced for it, and then rule that out, which
Here.
almost could have happened there. So excellent. Very good.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Oh, you know what we forgot was the wet wap.
Oh, they're here. They're right here.
Are they? Thank you.
Oh, looks like they haven't been
No, it's
opened
okay.
yet.
I'm sure they won't care.
Here, Joan. I got them. Ooh, they're stinky.
Whoops. Okay, well, hopefully that was a little demonstration of how to get a dog moving and how to get the attention away from you and how to alternate between feeding from your hand and feeding from the
Did you bring Rigby back in?
toss.
Did you bring Rigby back in? No. Okay. Okay. That's all right.
Animal skills that need to be developed. They become skilled at shaping. Just as we become skilled at shaping, so do they. You know, if you see an experienced dog working, there are some very experienced dogs here, and you'll see some of them if you've gone to any of the advanced labs or you're going to an advanced lab. There's some really terrific dogs here, and you'll see the difference between a dog that's really experienced at shaping and one that's just sort of trying things out.
And let me throw in here, when you see something that your dog is lacking as far as being a smooth, efficient dog for train, stop what you're working on and fix that. For instance, if your dog is taking treats from your hands really roughly, don't keep on shaping and whatever and trying to teach the dog something. Teach him how to take treats nicely first and get that fixed before you put up with it for 6 months and wish you hadn't. With my Beardy, when he was a puppy and first learning to clicker train, he did not get the concept of no click. What he got was frustrated. And so I had to baby step him through what no click meant. So if you have a dog that gets frustrated when he doesn't get a click, then stop what you're working on and work on that. What are some other things that happen that people need to work on first? Oh, staring at the treats in your hands, staring at the bait bag. That could be a function of your mechanical skills if you're doing the early bait bag reach thing. But to fix that before trying to shape good stuff and have good shaping fun.
They learn to offer behaviors. We saw a little bit of that with the first dog. Rigby. And this dog here was starting to offer, offering to look away and offering to putting his paw on the mat. And that happened very quickly. I mean, how long did we work with these dogs? Like 2-3 minutes at the most. And this is a strange dog in a strange environment with a strange trainer. It's just such an incredibly powerful way to train. They learn to offer variations. And sometimes it's a problem because you get a dog that starts to offer you too much. Like you saw that with the little puppy that with the head down. She tried the paw, and then she tried, I'll try another paw, and then the other paw, and then looking this way. And why didn't she just keep putting her head down? Because that's what she was being shaped for, and she got reinforced for that so many times. Why did she try something else? Well, why? They just do. And some do it more than others, and it's just something that you have to learn to deal with. But it's good to have a dog that offers variation, because then you can get more advanced behaviors. They learn to increase their effort. We saw that with Rigby, throwing himself on the mat. And that's another just learned behavior. If you capture the behaviors that are really quick and fast and really intentional, then you'll start to see that in all other behaviors, because it's just another learned behavior. They learn to resist extinction, and what we mean by that is if they don't get a click, they don't just give up and lie down or go away. If they don't get a click, they try something else, or they try a bit harder. This is another little shaping video with Dusty. This is the same puppy. She's 10 weeks old. So we've already taught her to touch a target. The goal is to ride a skateboard. And so first we're teaching her to put her paws on the stool because it won't move too much. Because, we don't want her to be afraid of the skateboard. Now we've moved to targeting with the skateboard.
So this is jump-starting shaping with a target stick.
On the carpet, so it
With
won't
targeting.
move.
And that's much more efficient than luring because it's still a learned behavior, and the dog is still learning and thinking rather than just following food and being, stuck in must-have.
And now I'm not using the target anymore. I've used it twice,
That's enough.
and now I'm not using it anymore because I want the dog to start thinking more for herself. Because even with the target, they can get dependent on following the target. So now we've moved it up a notch. We put the skateboard on the floor where it will roll a little bit more easily. So now we've already got resistance to extinction in this puppy in no time. If she doesn't get her click, she's trying again.
I'll just roll out of the picture.
Now eventually we had to go outside because she was just she was crashing into stuff.
Good girl, Dusty. Write it.
So now I'm starting to add the cue because the dog is offering the behavior really reliably. Some of these behaviors are just fun, like the ball and the skateboard. The dog will just start doing it for the fun of it.
And the more silly little things that you can shape, really that don't have an end product or a fancy trick, the more you and your dog will both learn to work together and learn how each other thinks and learn to communicate. So I always stress to people, train silly little things. Can I get the dog to go across the room and do that? Can I get the dog to turn this way? Anything. Just mess with them.
No, because who cares if the dog doesn't ride a skateboard? It's of no consequence. Whereas if you're trying to train sit or down or trying to teach a service dog to pick something up, it's an important behavior that they need to do properly.
So this is laying the
just
groundwork.
fun. Yeah, and we don't care. Like, this is a good training for us because we're really not likely to say or no or be worried about this behavior not being right. Now here, we should have stopped.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we went.
Now I have a really nice hand touch cue for her. So when she started biting on that, I gave her the cue, touch my hand. She touched my hand, click and treat for that, and then we're back to the skateboard again. Back in her right mind. Not that this dog has a right mind.
And Dusty rolls off into the sunset. Well, that's back at the beginning. Cool. So let's take a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, let's just see what else do we have. Oh yeah, we don't need to see these really. Yeah, that's all right. We're just. Yeah. Okay. Now we have 10 minutes left. We can
10?
take some questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, let me explain how I fixed that. I got tired of the old-fashioned ways to fix that. Force the treat in the dog's mouth and hold their jaw down and all that kind of stuff. So I thought about, what does the dog who takes treats nicely have to do in order to take treats nicely? And I figured out that they lead with their tongue. That's how they get a treat nicely. So you shape them to lead with their tongue by starting with something lickable on your fingers. And so something lickable, peanut butter, whatever, and you can click for the lick. Click and lick, click and lick. And then start making it a combination of gooey with a little treat. You know, now they're licking the treat away from you, and then start making it a little harder to lick the treat away from you. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, that's what I would do.
And I have another way that's similar. Say this dog, that dog there was really nippy. You see, nobody ever feeds it from by hand. So he used something like a hot dog. So you click and give the food in your hand open, and so he's gonna, like Helix said, lick and probably bite it. Lick the food and take it at the same time. So, you click for the lick, click for the lick, click for the lick, and then put it on cue. So I like to put that lick on cue. I call it kisses or whatever. And you can do it with the classical conditioning as well, peanut butter or cream cheese on your hand, and the dog's licking it off, and you say kisses while they're doing it. But you teach the dog kisses, and so when he really loves that cue, you can use that cue as a reinforcer. Okay, so say he does something, and then instead of clicking, you say kisses, and then you offer the treat.
And this is the essence of problem solving with clicker training. We don't look for how we're going to stop the biting. We look for, what do we need to teach him to do? Because you won't win when you want to stop something. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
I'll just show you. This is a game. It's called 101 Things to Do with the Box, which is a creativity game. I think Kathy might show a video about this in one of her lectures. But what you do is you'll put out a prop, and then you click for anything. Say the dog looks at it, you click. And then he goes near it, and you click. And then he puts his head in it, and you click. Now, the next time he puts his head in it, you don't click. You wait for something else. And he'll put his paw or whatever. Oh, you saw a good example with the dog with the tunnel thing. So the dog started pawing at the tunnel for whatever reason, who knows. So if she'd clicked that, then all of a sudden she's got two things she's clicked for, going in and putting his paw on. So if you wanted to click for creativity, you click for something different each time, which is a different kind of shaping.
That's kind of an abstract concept. You're teaching the dog, do something different than you did the last time.
And the best way to do that game is to have a cue that starts the game, which could be the object. So anytime you put a box down, it means do something with the box.
And I think Kay Lawrence puts a shawl on her. Puts a shawl around her. This is now the cue that we're playing the creativity game, because you could mess up when you're trying to shape something on purpose by getting a dog who's doing, oh, you want them different.
So this is almost something better to leave until the dog's a
Yeah,
little
so
bit
it's kind of an advanced thing,
more
which is why
advanced.
we have really not.
And some people have a cue. Laura Bow has a cue, get busy. So when she says get busy, that means do stuff. Show me something different. And sometimes if you've taught the dog a creativity cue, then you can start getting new behaviors, and then you can start shaping them. You can go away from the creativity, because you will sometimes get
You'll run into something like, oh, that's fantastic. I don't know how I ever would have gotten that, and then run with that as your new trick to train.
So these are some things we had I think there was a contest or something of what to do with a cup. So these are just some various different behaviors that dogs just created on their own, knocking it over, lying down and putting their nose in it. This is this little shipper key. This is 101 Things to Do with the Box. Beside the box, putting one paw on the bottom panel, one paw on the top panel, two paws on, nose in, back feet on, lying beside it.
And that's really kind of difficult for the trainer, because you have to keep track of what the dog already did in your mind, because you're not keeping notes. Yes. Yes, go ahead. You can clicker train something. Let's say that you start off as a beginner clicker training, and you trained a couple behaviors, and then you drifted away from clicker training, and 2 or 3 years later you picked up a clicker and said, I think I'm going to try this again. Your dog knows those old behaviors just like that. Pretty much. Yeah, and I've seen that happen with students in class who tried clicker training a long time ago, and their dog immediately starts with what he left off with. Right. Yep. I started off teaching my dog modifier cues left and right, and I was using tick and talk for the cues. Tick for this hand, talk for that hand. And I got stuck on didn't have a concrete way to figure out that whether or not he was guessing when it came time to working the discrimination. So I tabled it for a while. I actually tabled it for probably a year and a half. And when I started working again, in my mind, I couldn't remember, was tick my right hand or tick my left hand? So I just put them both out and said tick, and Joey went wham. Oh yeah, tick was my right hand. I remember now. And and he was right there, right where we left off with the discrimination.
And even with animals that you might not think are as smart as dogs, like rabbits, for example, which are as smart as dogs, incidentally. Anything that you start clicker training, all of a sudden you think it's smarter. And the puppies that I see now are so much smarter than the puppies that I saw 5 years ago. Every time we get a new dog, it's smarter than the one before, and it's not that. It's that we're just getting so much better at the training. But even the rabbits, we got these rabbits because we had an opportunity to go on TV with rabbits. So we thought, okay, let's get the rabbits. And then we didn't do anything with them for 4 years. Got the target stick back out immediately. The rabbits are back to it. So yes, they do remember. So I think
we're going to have to close off because we have only a 15-minute change order, and Kathy's back there at the back of the room, ready to go. Thank you, everybody.